Well, good morning, everyone. My name is Victor Branch, and I am the chair of the Richard Bland Committee of the College of William and Mary. Thank you for joining us today. And we have the public watching on YouTube. One housekeeping item, please note all audio should be muted. For board members and staff members who wish to participate, please identify yourselves when you speak. Today, the Richard Bland College Committee is meeting virtually in accordance with item 4-0.01.g of the 2020 Appropriation Act, which provides governing boards with the ability to hold meetings electronically without a quorum present while the Commonwealth is under a state of emergency. As I said, I'm Victor Branch, and I have the distinct privilege and honor to chair this committee. I'll have some brief remarks, and then I'll turn it over to President Sato to go through this exciting agenda we have lined up today. I want to thank Dr. Sato and her leadership team during this period, during this semester. You rose to the occasion and you met the moment. I want to thank the faculty and staff for your flexibility and your adaptability during these tumultuous, ever-changing times. And most of all, I want to thank the students for your resiliency and for your adherence to the Statesman's Safe and Secure plan. We're approaching the close of the semester, and by all accounts, it has been a major success. I won't declare victory yet. It's a little bit too soon, but we're almost there. So hang in there, stay focused to the tactics and the strategies that we've outlined to get us to this place, and let's not let up. And let's take the lessons that we have learned this semester into the spring semester as this pandemic gets much more challenging and much more intense. As I indicated, we have an exciting agenda. I'm looking forward to the reports that we have coming before us. And so now I turn it over to President Sato. Dr. Sato?
Mr. Chairman, members of the RBC Committee of the Board, good morning. We appreciate, Victor, very much those comments. The board's recognition of the efforts that have been underway since March to keep our campus community safe are very appreciated. It means a lot to us that you are aware of and that you acknowledge the efforts of our faculty, our staff, and our students. So thank you so much for those kind words. We do have an exciting agenda. The journalist Jeff Jarvis said that your company is the company it keeps. So I would assert that in today's volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous higher education environment, our college is the company it keeps. At Richard Bland College, our growing network of external partners has expanded the college's ability to remain competitive in a fiercely competitive marketplace of higher education. Today, two of our partners, CCAM and SEI Ventures, are here to share with all of you at a high level the contours of our respective relationships, and also, importantly, the potential of these relationships to yield mutually favorable results toward our missions. This is the proverbial win-win. Our first presentation is from Lauren Sodell and Betsy Odell with CCAM, the Commonwealth's Center for Advanced Manufacturing, and their presentation will be followed by a presentation from Terry McDonough and the Alternative Learning team at SEI. So Lauren and Betsy, I invite you to bring up your presentation.
Chairman, before they start, maybe if you could approve the minutes from the last meeting.
My bad there, sorry about that.
That's all right.
You received the minutes in your package, and is there a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved in second. All those in favor say aye.
Mr. Chairman, we need to do a roll call vote. So Mr. Branch,
Aye.
Ms. Johnson,
Aye.
Ms. Hudson,
Aye.
Judge Poston,
Aye.
Ms. Roday,
Aye.
Dr. Schultz,
Aye.
and Mr. Wolfold.
Aye.
Chairman.
Thank you. Back to you, Dr. Sadow.
Lisa Pond is going to be driving our PowerPoint presentation today. So Lisa, if you could bring up Lauren and Betsy's presentation. Lauren, I'm going to pitch it to you now.
Morning. Well, thank you very much, Dr. Saito. It's a pleasure to be invited here, and we are delighted to be partners of Richard Bland College and have the opportunity to speak with you here this morning. We're very pleased to talk to you about a partnership that we have together with Richard Bland College and the Commonwealth Center for Advanced Manufacturing. And for those of you who aren't familiar with CCAM, we're located just a few minutes away from the Richard Bland campus over in Prince George, just off of Route 460. We are an advanced manufacturing technology research center supporting a wide variety of industries in and across the Commonwealth and beyond, across the United States and in fact internationally. And CCAM has been in existence since 2011. We have a growing network of members that include quite a few marquee industry names, again, both local and international companies, as well as 5 major public universities from the Commonwealth, including Old Dominion University, Virginia Tech, Virginia State, Virginia Commonwealth, and the University of Virginia. And our newest relationship is together with Richard Bland College. We signed a memorandum of understanding back at the beginning of this year, right before everything changed, and it seems like a very long time ago now. But we've been working very actively together ever since that time on another critical part of our mission at CCAM, which is advanced manufacturing education. And we're very pleased to be here to present to you just a little bit of and some highlights of what we've been working on together as part of our partnership with Richard Bland College. My colleague Betsy Odell will give you some of our history and some of what we've been doing as groundwork that gets us to where we are today. And then I'll finish up by talking a little bit about the initiative that we're working very aggressively together with our colleagues from Richard Bland. So Betsy, over to you if you would.
Good morning. Thank you, Dr. Saito and Mr. Branch and the Board of Visitors for inviting me here today. This is a wonderful opportunity to talk about this exciting agenda. I think it's important to note that CCAM and Lauren and I really chose Richard Bland College to partner in this initiative with us because we felt like it was the best two-year college in our area. And we've certainly think that we've proven ourselves right because the relationship that we've had with Richard Bland in these past few short months have been very aggressive and moving quite quickly on some of the problems that our region faces. So just to give you an overview of some of the advanced manufacturing education programs that we've been working on in the past few years, that's really what this slide is for. And that 2.23 million reflects how much we've received in grants for some of these advanced manufacturing initiatives. One of the first grants that I got was with Old Dominion University's Baton College of Engineering and Technology, and two wonderful engineers out of ODU, Dr. Dolly and Dr. Sanjeevi, and we created a stackable automation robotics pathway with using curriculum for advanced manufacturing to go into automation, and then robotics. One of the studies that CCAM had completed in 2016 was a very thorough and very expensive Deloitte study that recognized three main areas of focus needed for education in our area. The first being automation or mechatronics, depending on who you talk to, they call it something different. The second was machining, and the third is welding. Machining was really a nod to the former Rolls-Royce building, and welding was really a nod to one of our CCAM's members, the Newport News shipbuilding. So we have decided to focus mainly on automation, and automation robotics go hand in hand. So it's one of the reasons why we started with that back in September of 2019. We also, at the same time, started a Go Virginia grant for training mechatronics and robotics apprentices and transitioning military. That grant was just completed, and right when we started our relationship in the beginning of 2020 with Richard Bland, we got another Go Virginia grant for $50,000 to create a planning grant with Riverlink, and Liz Povar. She's a economic development legend in region 3, 4, and parts of 5. So if you know the Go Virginia region, so that out of that really bore some of the next activities that we're going to be focusing on, and that Lauren is going to overview with you all. I think that, like many of the people here, as soon as COVID hit, one of the things that we started looking for was, with opportunities. This is an opportunity to get advanced manufacturing education to students where they are, which is online, instead of where it's traditionally been hands-on learning or on-the-job training. So what I did was went back to Go Virginia and asked for fairly large grant, $1.5 million, to create a virtual workforce with ODU and ODU's Virginia Modeling Analysis and Simulation Center. So we're in the process of doing that. So all of these different components really do streamline and come together quite nicely with our relationship with Richard Bland and where we're heading with CCAM and advanced manufacturing education for the region. So Lauren, I think this is in response to FAME. Did you want this one?
Oh, so just to follow up on this, both CCAM and Richard Bland are now working together. Our target is by the end of this year to have the foundation formed for what we're calling a local chapter, a Virginia chapter of FAME. And I'll explain what that is on the next slide. And actually not quite ready to go there yet, if you don't mind. But what I just want people to see from this is that we're working with a launch group of companies. Some of them are clearly names that you'll recognize. Some of them are perhaps names that you don't. Coesia is a global company with an operating branch here in Central Virginia. Blueprint Automation, a small regional company. EPT is a US subsidiary of a German company. Some of the other names I think you'll recognize on there. But my point is this: we're working with a very broad cross-section of industry partners to create something that will deliver advanced manufacturing education to support a very broad variety of companies.
Did we lose you, Lauren? So FAME USA was created by the National Association. Are you back?
I'm back. Don't know what happened. Sunspots. Sorry. Yeah, turn off my video. So we are working together with the National Association of Manufacturers in a program that they call FAME. And FAME is an acronym, as are so many things today, standing for the Federation for Advanced Manufacturing Education. And we are working to create a chapter here in Central Virginia with the foundation from the manufacturing companies that you saw listed on the previous slide. And we've done an extensive amount of work together to study the need for this. And we are looking to create a so-called middle skill education program that will deliver Associate of Applied Science degrees for a program that FAME has dubbed their Advanced Manufacturing Technician Program. So these are people, professionals who have the skills to maintain and support a wide variety of automated and robotic manufacturing equipment across a variety of industries. So if you just think back to a moment for the array of companies that you saw on the previous slide, we're talking about consumer products, we're talking about automotive, we're talking about chemicals, a wide variety of industries all utilize and all are in dire need for the same foundational skill sets. And as Betsy mentioned on her slides, robotics, automation, mechatronics, several industries, or all of these industries, call them by slightly different things, by different titles, but they all essentially utilize the same foundational core skills of computer controlled equipment. And the FAME program essentially will give students both the manufacturing technical skills to be able to support this type of equipment and the professional behaviors and soft skills, as many of us would recognize them, to be able to merge into a professional organization with the right skills to join and to excel. The Advanced Manufacturing Technician Program and the FAME chapters are something that are happening in more than 33 different locations in already 13 states around the country. So we are joining a relatively mature program that is already delivering hundreds of graduates annually to a wide variety of industries. This will create what are called multi-skilled maintenance technicians. The program spans 5 semesters, so 2 fall and spring semesters plus 1 study. Students are essentially working part-time at the companies that are hiring them, and they're going to school part-time. The whole focus of this activity is that is employer-led. So the curriculum, the direction of where we're going, the job assignments, everything is driven as a pull system from the employers rather than a push from education. And that's why this model is already so widely adopted across the country.
And this model also, it starts in the high, it gets you really starting in the high schools, and then allows these people who are interested in advanced manufacturing education to go all the way up to masters, PhDs, which we think is very important for the employee and for the student. And one of the companies that I think left out on the previous slide was Flow. We know Flow is coming to the area. We know they're trying to bring in a bunch of OEMs and supply chain manufacturers. So it's fertile ground for our region, and it's really going to be an important push for. They're suddenly going to turn around and say, "Where's the workforce?" So I think that we've got good timing on this.
So if we go on to the last slide here, I'll just finish up with this: the FAME program and the process that we're working together between CCAM and Richard Bland College really has a pathway focus to it. We're working at the beginning of this process, we're working with the partner companies to define what it is that they need and to merge this into a program that will ultimately establish for those partner companies a pipeline of workers that, as Betsy said, have the critical skills that they need to sustain and grow their businesses. As we continue to develop this process, we work further and further back into the K-12 system to develop excitement and interest in pursuing advanced manufacturing technology as the type of degree and the type of career that students are going to want to pursue, because it's right now a career field that is suffering from not enough interest, while yet there's still very high demand for these career fields. Beyond the AMT program, the partnerships that we have, both Richard Bland and CCAM, with the four-year universities around the Commonwealth, give us the opportunity for graduates from this program to continue on. And each person's interests, aptitudes, and career path are going to be a little bit different. So we have opportunities in the local area here to allow people to connect to schools like Virginia State University, where I'm also faculty in the College of Engineering and Technology, Virginia Commonwealth University, and to other schools around the Commonwealth. But the bottom line is that we will have provided students, regardless of what their background is, the foundation of both the technical skills and the professional behaviors that they'll need in order to be successful in their careers. And with that, we're finished up. We, I think, have a couple of minutes for questions if people have them, for either Betsy or myself.
Thank you. Victor, is it all right if I ask a question? This is very exciting, and thank you so much for the presentation. You caught my attention when you said that the 5 semesters are employer-led rather than the push from education. Can you talk about accreditation and the importance of what is required for graduation from higher ed institutions?
Yes, thank you. I'm glad to do that. So, and it's why, rather than trying to pursue something on our own at CCAM, that we've decided to work in partnership with Richard Bland College. So we recognize that this program needs to be accredited, that we need to have full approval from SHEV for what we're offering. So all of the work, whether it's general education requirements that are provided through Richard Bland College, or some of the technical content that will come from FAME, National Association of Manufacturers, we'll work together to make sure that the degree program meets whatever accreditation requirements that Richard Bland indicates are for this Associates of Applied Science degree. You were right, the students are pursuing work part-time, where they're on campus for 2 days per week during this time, and they're at their employer for 3 days per week. So there is a collaborative agreement that the employer is working with the college at that time to make sure that the student is getting the appropriate work experiences to underpin what they're getting while they're on campus getting the education that they need. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, thank you for the explanation.
Any other questions for Lauren or Betsy?
Lauren, could I just ask you to expand upon the focus on underrepresented populations? That's, of course, very important to Richard Bland's mission. And I know you and I have talked several times about the important intersection that we have in attempting in our community to make sure that we're focused on recruitment of underrepresented students. So could you just expand on that a bit?
Absolutely, thank you. And for me personally, this is I think one of the biggest opportunities that this program brings forward. As I mentioned, the FAME process is a pull system. It is driven by the manufacturers who are saying that these are the skill sets that they need in their organizations. And at the same time, many of the manufacturers that we're working with, certainly all of the ones who are on the board that we showed you, plus many others that we're speaking to, have identified that the workforces that they have performing these kinds of skills, first of all, their current workforces are aging out. But second of all, they don't have enough diversity in order to be successful in this area. They feel that women are highly underrepresented in the skill sets that we're working to train for, as well as different minority groups are all underrepresented. And so as part of this process, the manufacturers, together with us as the educational partners, will be working with the K-12 school divisions. Currently, we're working actively already with approximately a dozen K-12 school divisions in and around our area of Southside Virginia. And so we have the opportunity to go to those schools and to recruit, and to tell young women, to tell people who perhaps otherwise wouldn't have considered careers in this area, what the opportunities are. These are all high-paying jobs. For the most part, all of these jobs that people will graduate into pay well above the median wage for this region of the state and the country. And so these are great opportunities for people who may not have taken the time to consider a career as an advanced manufacturing technician in any one of these companies. Give them the opportunity to think about that, to pursue that career, and ultimately to recognize the rewards of working in a great job and in a well-recognized company.
Lauren, thank you. And Lauren and Betsy, we really appreciate the presentation. I know that the board is interested in these types of partnerships that allow us to better serve our community and also to meet both the college's goals and the Commonwealth's goals around having more degreed and credentialed citizens. So this partnership is very important to the college, both short-term and long-term. And we certainly appreciate your being with us today. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all very much. Well, I'll just say this in closing. When we're all able to once again meet in person, we look forward to welcoming all of you over to come see in action what we're doing as we roll forward. We're going to be doing some of this work on campus at Richard Bland College, and we're going to be doing some of this work at our facility at CCAM. And we'd certainly welcome all of you to come and to see the facility there. And most importantly, I think to meet the students and perhaps their employer sponsors who are going through this process as we roll forward. So thank you all very much for the opportunity.
Yeah, Debbie and Lauren, I just want to add, CCAM is such an asset for our region, and not many people know you're there. So the more we can tell that story about what you're doing, because these are creating jobs of the future, and that's where we want to position our students. And I'm so excited that Richard Bland is now a partner officially with CCAM and is going to help play a role. And Lauren and I sit on the Region 4 Virginia Capital Region job of Go Virginia. And you can see Go Virginia has been very, very supportive of the initiatives of CCAM, because they recognize that they're 20 years ahead of where most of us are thinking about where jobs are going to be in the future. And so they're going to keep us focused on those opportunities. And for Richard Bland now to be a partner with CCAM is super exciting. And I think the best is yet to come. So Lauren, thank you. And Betsy, thank you for your leadership. And we're going to tell this story wider and broader so that others can understand the exciting things that are taking place here in this region.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
That another exciting partnership is going to be detailed by Terry McDonough and team. Terry is a William and Mary alumnus and I know he's excited to have the opportunity this morning to speak with members of the board and the RBC committee. Terry.
Thank you, President Saito, and thank you to members of the board. It's a privilege to present to this group. I also feel grateful to have experienced kind of the overview of CCAM and FAME. That storyline that I heard Lauren and Betsy describe is something that your team, Tyler Hart and Stacy Sokol, have animated in discussions that I have had with them and my team have had with them. And one of the reasons why we get so excited about Richard Bland College, for a point of context before I kind of tell my own story and walk through the slides here, it is many universities across the country with whom I work and my team work, and very few have kind of the insights around partnership and innovation that I've seen in the couple of months that I've spent with this team. So grateful to be part of this discussion, and I will take you up on your offer, Lauren, and come visit the facilities and meet some of your partners. It's really, I think, complementary work to what I'd like to highlight here. I do have a couple of slides, so if one of the team could pull those up, we can walk through those. I also see Henry Brodus on the call here. First off, thank you to him as the person who introduced me to Stacy and Tyler a few months back. Let me start by saying, number one, I am a William and Mary alum. I was a Monroe Scholar at the college. I have spent most of my career post William and Mary in education, although in varying circumstances. The first 6 years I spent as a classroom teacher. I then went to grad school and joined McKinsey & Company, where I came back to the College of William and Mary and did a number of projects with Dean Pulley at the Mason School of Business to help rethink the way the Mason School was integrating with employer partners in the Tidewater region and setting strategy for that school. I'm proud to say that I think a number of the things that we talked through there have shifted the way the Mason School has, at least at the graduate level, engaged with employer partners. So with that, let me highlight a little bit of who SEI is. It's probably, in some ways, the biggest education company you've never heard of. So we serve roughly 200,000 learners on an annual basis across a variety of programs, degreed and non-degreed, through Strayer University, Capella University, Sophia Learning, which I like to kind of refer to as advanced placement for everybody else. It's a platform through which you can accrue college credits, ACE certified, and then transition into degree programs. We run coding boot camps, one of which, Hack Bright Academy, I'd venture to say is kind of the premier diversity and inclusion focused coding boot camp. Our tagline there is change the ratio. It's all women's focused. And we also work quite deeply with employer partners to drive education programming. So a nice, I think, storyline or through line from what Lauren and Betsy were describing before, and your deep work with CCAM and in developing a FAME chapter is part of the story that we've historically developed across SEI, and the way we see a need to bridge employer interests, labor market needs, and student education. So that's a bit of an overview of who SEI is. I run the Alternative Learning Division, which is really focused on innovation and new pathways to degrees, as well as driving down debt. So if we can move ahead, the next slide that you'll see here is really a storyline that I don't take any credit for. This is Stacy and Tyler's and the team's work at RBC. We are excited to have to play a part in that story potentially. But with Tyler and Stacy, we have kind of put together here through their lens a course of innovation that we see Richard Bland College taking over the next several years, part of which can be driven in the short term over, say, the next 18 months. part of which is about achieving the vision, which potentially could be accelerated in a middle phase of test and learn through partnerships like the FAME chapter, and part of which is driven toward a longer term focus of being a true innovator and realizing some of the promise of this digital work college idea, where there is this seamless connection between education attainment and job recognition for skills. And so just on the left-hand side here, we know that the team at Richard Bland, led by Dr. Saito and folks like Tyler, have been working with a broad set of innovators across the space, EAB to drive more effective recruitment of a diverse population of learners, Strata and others who have done bunches of research on the ways colleges need to change in a kind of dynamic world we're in at the moment, but also things that we could effectively deliver to support your aims, one of which is the digital courseware offerings that we have through our Sophia platform and SEI Studios. These are courses that we build predominantly around techniques defined in documentary filmmaking. So we combine instructional designers with documentary filmmakers to create courses that really are designed for, you know, an adult learning population who have not necessarily felt like school was designed for them. So driving engagement, accelerating outcomes for non-traditional learners, and doing that through really high quality curriculum that we design ourselves. And then lastly, and so that's one of the things we have talked with the team about enabling Richard Bland College to use. And then lastly, in this first column on the left-hand side, finding ways to plug Richard Bland students or Richard Bland into our Workforce Edge platform, which is essentially an education benefits management portal for employers. An employer uses it. We have 750 employer partners at SEI. An employer uses it to direct their employees toward an education benefits program that they offer. So as you know, many working adults are not satisfied with the credentials that they have and want to go back to school. Many employers will offer an incentive to do that. They'll cover the tuition for an employee learner, but very few actually use that benefit. It's roughly 2 to 5% of any given workforce. We know there's skill gaps across the labor market. We know employees want to use that benefit, but people don't use it because there's no way of actually surfacing the relevant opportunities to an employee. And so Workforce Edge does that. On Workforce Edge, a prospective learner can browse a set of programs in a marketplace in network, like a PPO healthcare plan, and then select programs that their employer will fund that match both the employer's need set and the employee's interests. So I'll talk a little bit about that in a moment. If we look out to the horizon beyond, these are more things that your team has focused on building kind of a vision toward. One in that middle column I'll highlight for a second here is learning on the job. Part of this was discussed in the CCAM FAME discussion just a minute ago. But one thing we have been doing of late has been discussing with the team at Capital One through their people analytics leadership around ways of actually allowing a apprentice at Capital One to come through under the aegis of an institution like a Richard Bland, be employed at Capital One, get dual credit for skills they're demonstrating on the job and coursework they're doing that Capital One would be developing with you. So I'll move ahead in the interest of time, but wanted to illustrate how work that we have been discussing with Stacy and Tyler is intended to fit into your long-term goals at Richard Bland. I talked about Workforce Edge. I can highlight this just a slight bit more here, but the intention is really to drive high-quality students to institutions like yours from employers who pay their freight. So you reduce debt loads and you ensure that people are taking programming that's both of interest to their employers and therefore going to solve a labor market need, and doing it in ways that don't hit their pocketbook. And what we're interested in right now is building a set of in-network partners. We already have a great in-network set of partners through Noodle, which you may know, one of the, we think, premier OPM providers out there. But we are interested in adding universities. And in fact, we've been talking about adding Richard Bland to the Workforce Edge platform. You can move ahead. I won't talk much about this, but we have been discussing with Stacy and Tyler and team Richard Bland using a selection of what we term our blue ribbon courses. These are gen ed courses that our filmmakers and instructional designers produce. We invest a lot of money in building these courses because we serve them to hundreds of thousands of students. And the model that we have is designed to drive better course completion and better pass rates. We A/B test every one of our new courses. We do it with Strayer, Capella, and a variety of partners. And we actually only judge the success of those courses on those outcomes. And when we commercialize them, we only have our partners pay for them on outcomes. You don't pay for a seat license at the outset. You pay for only the learners who actually pass the course. If we have a moment, we can actually show a short clip of this. I don't know where we are on time. Looks like we may not be getting the audio. Well, we can send out a link afterward. Are people hearing me, by the way?
Strayer University launched Strayer Studios to improve student engagement in the online classroom through documentary-style films that bring lessons to life. For actress and author Kim Coles, writing is a part of life. So Strayer Studios asked Kim to share her journey as a writer, which was then integrated into English courses to teach students about the creative writing process. Here's a look at the film shown to students.
My name is Kim Coles. I am an actress, comedian, author, speaker, host, and I've been writing for a really long time. Even as a little girl, I was always putting my ideas down. I started doing stand-up, which requires you to write, and I began to find my voice. Good evening. Hi, everybody. I'm Kim Coles. It was the 90s. My television career was really at its height. I felt that I had something unique to say that had not been said from the perspective of someone who looked like me. The process of my first book was not easy. You just have to look at the blank pages as if it's your friend, and then just begin to fill it up with whatever you can until it makes sense. Writing is the way we connect to each other and to ourselves. Write your words, leave your legacy.
Now that you've seen one of our videos, we'd like to show you what a course looks like from the student's perspective. Here's the course homepage for our intro English course, Your Words, Your Power.
Pause there.
As you can see, the first mentor that the students will meet is Kim Coles. Let's dive into week 1 to see what they'll learn. There's a checklist at the beginning of each week that outlines their week.
There you go. Yeah, I know. I ran the risk of a bunch of technical difficulties with that, but thank you, Lisa. So let me just highlight a couple of things that are true of our Blue Ribbon course model and give you a sense of why pedagogically it kind of makes sense. So one thing that we know from our own research and research across academia of late is that content or curriculum, rich content matters quite a bit, in particular in an environment where the learner and the faculty member are distant in an online setting. You've got to have high quality connected curriculum. And so what we've done in the Blue Ribbon courses is not only have we made the actual content engaging in that it comes with a hook, like you saw here, through someone who a learner might connect with, but it embeds the textbook into the video experience. So the storyline or the through line of a course is not fragmented as it often is in an OER environment or others. it's all connected from the beginning of the course to the end. So the learner can connect themes from segment or section 1 to 2 to 3 and so on. And so in our courses, it's both you get the video experience, you get the discussion board, and you get the equivalent textbook all together. And as I said, whenever we launch a new course with this blue ribbon model, we A/B test it, same faculty member delivering the new course, old course, and in almost all cases, we see a lift on continuation rates and pass rates, both within our institutions and outside. We've started to deliver these courses with a group of HBCUs and with a large nursing school on the West Coast. And the idea is that a university could use the courseware in one of two ways. One, full soup to nuts, with one of our faculty members delivering it who is terminally degreed and meets all the marks that the accrediting body that you're under would require, or enabling your faculty member to use the course just as you would a publisher's courseware. So if there are questions, we can look at those in just a second. There's one last slide I think I'll hit here. And that is highlighting that, as I mentioned, within the course, there is kind of this integration of instructor-led curriculum, content that's focused on kind of diversity and inclusion. As a note, we serve a predominantly minority base of students, non-traditional working adult women, mostly African-American. And we've built all of our courses around these character-driven stories. But we also deliver those courses through a package of professional development. So your faculty members get trained on high quality online learning delivery. And then finally, as I mentioned, you get outcomes reporting to demonstrate the lift on academic outcomes that one would see through this course. And in fact, we only judge the success of a course and kind of in commercial arrangements only charge for the course based on student outcomes. And so predominantly these are focused on gen ed courses, and the focus is really to get students through those gen ed and remedial courses at lower cost, higher pace, and through to the outcomes they might want in the more technical skilled content like we saw with the FAME example. So let me pause there and see what questions or comments there might be.
This is Barbara Johnson. Thank you very much for the presentation. It looks as if it's a very interesting model. How are you going about marketing the program, especially with respect to students and identifying business partners? I know you hit on that a little bit, but if you could go into more detail about how you're marketing.
Well, when we think about delivering, we usually market in the sense of working with your faculty members or your instructional design teams, those in charge of the pedagogy and the curriculum. So marketing, in a sense, is an internal thing that we do with our university partners to ensure they're comfortable with content and comfortable with delivery. In terms of direct to student, what a student might think about and see the value in courseware or programming. We support a faculty cadre in talking about how these courses are different and how they might be driving higher levels of engagement and how they're connected to the kind of outcomes a student might want. If I'm talking about one of the other things that I highlighted before, Workforce Edge, that truly is a marketing play in which we work with employer partners to showcase your programs on their intranet, their LinkedIn feeds, their internal communication channels to say, programs at Richard Bland College are available to you under your tuition assistance benefit. They are interesting potentially to you because they match to these potential job pathways in your company. So that one does require some more actual marketing dynamics that we can talk through how we go about that, but it's predominantly working with an internal team and employers to drive insights and get the word out.
Ms. Johnson, we also have a new partner, EAB, who is specifically promoting RBC Online, the holistic program that is RBC Online. So I'm going to ask Tyler and/or Stacy to highlight that marketing effort, which is fairly extensive.
Thank you.
Yes, Ms. Johnson. Nice to see everyone. We partnered with EAB. We signed a contract with them about a month and a half ago, and they are working on their U-Visit to do campus tours. So that's the first step. And then we will have access to their entire adult learner database that we will use predictive analytics and modeling to determine the best fits for the Richard Bland program as we are in development. So we are building the programming along the same track that we are marketing to those. So they will be live with marketing as early as the spring. Although we hope to have a pilot of these courses early spring, we hope to have an impact with those marketing, that marketing investment for really return on investment this summer and fall.
Any other questions of Terry? While you're thinking, I would like to say that it has been delightful to work with Terry and his team. They are doing the work that I think is going to help higher education accelerate our transformation to become more responsive, to become more innovative. And this partnership in particular has really challenged us in many ways. And I say that in a very positive way. As we launch this new RBC Online program, I can honestly say we couldn't have done it without Terry and the team. And we feel so good about the quality and also the focus on meeting the needs of the students in the target market that we intend to serve. So Terry and team, thank you for that. Are there other specific questions? Then Henry Broadus, I know you're with us. I want to thank you for making the introduction. It has, as I said, meant a lot to us and to our ability to move quickly to launch RBC Online this spring. And we would like to thank you. Henry is very much an extended member of Team RBC, and we appreciate his contributions. So thanks, Henry.
You're very gracious to say that, Debbie. It's just nice to see, with the work that Terry and Tyler and Stacy have been doing, it's just wonderful to see it come into fruition like this.
Thank you. With that, we are going to, Mr. Chairman, with your permission, we'd like to provide an update on the Racial Justice and Equity Task Force, and that is Drs. Watts-Martinez and Addington.
Fantastic. Let's go for it. Thank you, Terry.
Good morning. Thank you, Dr. Saito. I am Yvonne Watts-Martinez, and I do appreciate this opportunity to present some of the Racial Justice and Equity Task Force's findings with my co-chair, Dr. Tom Addington. For starters, the Racial Justice and Equity Task Force has collected data from departments on campus who work directly with students. So in our last report, 3 overarching questions were, which guided our exploration, were presented. Currently, we are focused on our first question, which has led us to an observation of how equity and inclusion have been fostered in the department's policies and processes. The data from various units revealed the extent to which their policies and practices were aligned with the conception of equity and inclusion. The task force found that each of the department's policies were in line with the college's current anti-discrimination policy. However, we continue to reflect as a task force on the benefits of developing solid inclusion language, reflective of the college's diverse community, as well as the importance of incorporating a strong diversity statement with a clear anti-racism policy. Of the campus units observed, the Department of Safety and Campus Police was that area that produced and published an additional anti-discrimination statement and provided a very robust diversity message that has been carried out in their hiring, training, and treatment of campus members in our space. The task force has also begun to administer its survey tool, which is the TOCAR, that's the Training Our Campus Against Racism instrument. And we held virtual listening sessions with current and former RBC employees of color. If you recall, the TOCAR included sections focused on students, campus life, along with perceived discriminatory behavior and practices within our campus community. So when it comes to the perceptions of students and their support, the responses of both populations, the current and former employees of color, respectively, were identified in terms of how they viewed student life on campus. And in these sections, participants used an agree, disagree, or not sure scale that best represented their perspectives. We discovered that 100% of our current and former employee populations agreed that students of all races and ethnicities on campus showed them respect. When considering support programs, 72% of current employees disagreed that RBC provided adequate programs and services that promote the success of students of color. And 91% of former employees also disagreed that RBC provides adequate programs to support students' success, students of color success. As stated before, the virtual learning sessions were held. The themes emerging from the conversations in these sessions were around several topics addressing ways for the college to support students and their employees of color. Essentially, the current employees would like to see the college continue its efforts to build support programs that address the concerns of students, their learning styles, while considering their life complexities. In fact, ensure that the students of color have a voice on campus and find ways to establish scholarships for them. And incidentally, 2 weeks ago, Dr. Addington began collecting data from students and discovered so far was that 100% of the responses of the survey submitted indicated the need or the desire for the college to establish scholarships for students of color. Another concern for both current and former employees related to the fact that there was a lack of Black professionals and professionals of color on campus. They highlighted the need for more professionals of color to be represented in the faculty, as well as in the mid and high level administrative ranks who can relate to students on campus. In terms of the perspectives of the campus client, 95% of current and former employees feel or felt physically safe on their campus, meaning that they did not feel as if their lives were in any danger because of their race. 100% of current and former employees stated that they never experienced a situation in which a campus member patronized them because of their race. To the question of whether employees feel or felt that RBC is a welcoming environment, 39% of current employees indicated feeling very welcome at RBC. 39% current employees felt someone unwelcome. 17% current employees reported feeling very unwelcome and 5% not sure. Take my little cursor down here. In terms of our former employees, 82% of our RBC former employees felt somewhat unwelcome on our campus, while 18% felt very welcome. To the question of whether current and former employees of color felt that the college is committed to addressing and improving relationships between people of different races and ethnic origins, 83% current employees disagree that RBC is committed to these actions, while 17% were not sure. In terms of former employees, 82% former disagree that RBC is committed to addressing and improving these relations, while 18% former employees were not sure. In the section highlighting employees' perceptions of discrimination on campus, again, using the instruments agree, disagree, not sure scale, we were able to understand RBC's current and former employees of color perceptions of discrimination on campus. With regard to our administrators, 78% of current employees agree that some administrators discriminate against people of color. Former employees also weighed in, with 72% agreeing that some administrators discriminate against people of color. This same question was applied to staff, and in this observation, 72% of current employees agree that staff discriminate against people of color, while 64% of former RBC employees also agree. As far as faculty, 50% of current employees of color were not sure that some faculty discriminate against people of color. 33% current employees agree, while 17% disagree. For former employees, 63% former employees disagree that some faculty discriminate against people of color. 27% did agree, 10% were not sure. When observing whether faculty, RBC faculty, are sensitive to the barriers faced by students of color, 39% of current employees disagreed that faculty are sensitive to barriers. It's almost a split here. 39% indicated they were not sure, while 22%, the rest, current employees agree that faculty are sensitive to the barriers. Related remarks were shared in the virtual listening sessions with current employees and former employees of color, respectively. Their current employees suggested that the college just build that welcoming environment on campus for employees on campus, and to be that place committed to addressing and improving the relations between races, and where people of color will be able to express themselves, their culture comfortably and respectfully. Also, establish an environment in which employees of color feel protected through policy and procedures linked to handling incidents related to racial discrimination and bias. And to have available that language that points them to clear procedures for reporting incidents of racism and bias. What came clear in the listening session with former employees is for the college to provide that clear pathway and access to continued education for employees on the undergraduate level as well as in the graduate ranks. And for more employees of color to be represented and to feel supported and to feel secure in the faculty as well as in the middle and top level administration, with fair and equal salary compensation based on their direct and related higher education experiences and academic credentials. Now, with our work, and thank you for hanging with me here, but along with our work, the task force had several meetings, probably about 5 or 6 by now. And we've also offered programs in parallel with our work by providing faculty development trainings and also presentation series to include 4 speakers who address topics around the experiences of African Americans. This Wednesday, which is tomorrow, my goodness, we will have a speaker, our last speaker, who will focus on Black hair politics. And so we are excited about that. And that is it from my end. And Dr. Addington, feel free to take it away.
Thank you, Dr. Watts-Martinez, and thank you all for being here this morning. First, I'd like to talk about a faculty survey. It was as part of the data collection process and following a listening session held with faculty on July. A survey was developed by Dr. Eric Earnhardt, who's chair of Languages and Humanities, and it was sent to all full-time faculty across disciplines. In tandem with these listening sessions, the survey gave the task force insight into how faculty both understand and engage concepts related to diversity and inclusion, especially as they relate to student support and advocacy. So first, areas to promote and positive trends that we've seen from the data. 75% of faculty reported that they use an intentionally diverse curriculum. The 25% who said they did not were in mathematics and the hard sciences, but they did note in comments that they're looking for ways to make that curriculum as diverse as possible. 90% of faculty also reported that they incorporate discussions of race and ethnicity into their courses, either through a particular unit or module, particular readings, texts or texts, and activities and assignments. The remaining 10, again, were in mathematics and the hard sciences. I think the data also reveals 3 opportunities for cultivation and growth. The first, echoing Dr. Watts-Martinez's assessment, making clear and transparent pathways for reporting incidents of discrimination if they arise. Second, that our students of color, namely our Asian students, Black students, and Latinx students, are the major users of our tutoring services and other student supports, such as the Writing Center and faculty office hours. So continuing to buttress those areas and taking a network approach where we work in closer relationship and in tandem with student success, residence life, et cetera, to provide this wraparound support for these populations. Last, there's also a wide variance in faculty understanding of and engagement with these larger concepts. For example, when asked how they define and understand diversity, some faculty defined it purely as difference, while others foregrounded its implications for inclusion and cooperation. I think the major finding of the data and takeaway is that the faculty want dynamic, robust pedagogical training related to diversity, equity, and inclusion. And I think one comment that I'd like to read at length really spoke to that. I wish as faculty we could get more training on how to make sure our students know that we care. I care deeply about my students, but I am very different from the students that I have that struggle. I have been given so many privileges in life that I take for granted, and I want to know how to convey my willingness to support and care for my students despite not truly understanding what they face. So I think that's a heartening comment and shows and speaks to the desire of faculty to continuously learn and train ourselves in these areas. Taking a leaf from Tony K. Bambara, the task force understands its work as community work. And we've been drawing on the ties that bind to put the task force's work in close relationship to the communities that we serve. We've met with Danielle Fitzhugh of the Chesterfield Chamber of Commerce to discuss opportunities for collaboration and support. We've also been in discussions with Kevin Massengill, who's the director of county administrator, for Dinwiddie County. We have also had conversations and invited a partnership with Love 804. It's a group from the Heights Baptist Church in Colonial Heights, and they'll be working on student programming that builds community and celebration of difference. We've also been in conversation with Fashawn Glover, who's William & Mary's Chief Diversity Officer. She'll be invited to campus not only as a speaker next semester, but to provide context and feedback as we work through this process. Lastly, I'm sorry, one more point on partnerships. We're also considering how the task force's work might dovetail with the work of the Honors and Promise programs, especially as we increase our recruiting efforts through schools served by the Virginia College Advising Corps, Richmond City Public Schools, and Petersburg Public Schools. Looking ahead to the spring semester for task force programming, we want to follow and keep the energy of our well-attended and impactful speaker series from this fall. And so we have a number of training and programming opportunities in the works. First, Kevin Massengill will be coming to campus and talking about inclusion, not just as a practice in the workplace, but as an ethos that sort of undergirds the organization. Second, Candy Pearson in our business office will be holding a number of trainings that address not only social mobility, but wealth management and development for our faculty and students of color. Last, in tandem with some scholar activist contacts through SONG, Southerners on New Ground, we'll be having a series of trainings on white allyship, and those will begin by nuancing and problematizing the idea of allyship itself and continuing into an examination of what allyship looks like in action. Thank you so much for your time, and that concludes my section of this report.
Thank you, Avonda and Tom. Are there questions, comments? Some of the information is tough to hear, but we've made a commitment to receive the information, to have this investigative process that gives us the reality as people are experiencing that reality on our campus, both now and in the past with employees and students. That has been a commitment of our team to receive that openly and honestly, and to respond in a way that is equally transparent and honest. And so I know it was hard for us to hear the data, and I'm sure it was hard for you to hear as well. But that is where we are, and we're starting from here. So I'd like to open it up for questions or comments.
President Saito, it's Lisa Roday. So are there any existing ally or affinity groups on campus at the moment, Tom?
There have been in the past various iterations. At present, those groups have sort of fallen through for any number of reasons. Either the faculty or staff member who headed it is no longer with us, or the students that have sort of kept that organization going have graduated to a transfer institution. But there has been a track record of these groups on campus, and it's something the task force is very much interested in revitalizing again and keeping that effort going on campus.
And just to circle back on something the president just said, so you are considering this as the baseline data?
Yes.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair?
Hudson, yes.
Thank you. I'm wondering, it's in particular with respect to the employee survey results, I'm assuming there was an opportunity for them to provide anecdotal information, and if so, was such anecdotal information provided? And to the extent it was, did any of it raise or rise to the level of something you thought required investigation on an individual basis, as opposed to with respect to the broad-based response to the information?
Yes.
Dr. Martinez.
Yes, and thank you so much for your question. The employees had two opportunities to provide anecdotal information. One, as part of the TOCAR, and they have this, the final section there allows them to provide comments. They could also submit comments to the task force, and we also gave them, our participants, opportunity in our virtual listening sessions, and we do have those, and they are in well, few of the comments are in PowerPoint now, but we have plenty of that information available. Wish we could share. We just wanted to be respectful of time. But yes, ma'am, we do have that information.
That also
and the other part of the question, which was, I'm sorry, go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt.
Oh, no. I'm sorry. It also holds true for the faculty data. We have sort of a detailed accounting for all of that.
Okay.
Ms. Hudson, you asked if any of the anecdotal information would have caused us to move forward with investigation. Our Director of Human Resources, Cassandra Stanberry, sits on the task force. She certainly has been engaged in the process of reviewing the data and working with our co-chairs to address any personnel issues as needed. I believe Cassandra is on the call, so I won't speak for her, but nothing has risen to that level to my knowledge. Cassandra, is that accurate?
That is accurate, Dr. Saito. We have a lot of that data and some data that I've actually provided to the task force. We do take all of this information taken into consideration. We take it very seriously, but nothing led to an investigation. Any new instances of racial discrimination or suspicions of racial discrimination, I do handle those very carefully. It's very sensitive information shared with the president, and I can assure you that we do take action if it rises to that level. And thank you very much for that question.
Thank you.
This is Barbara Johnson, and I want to thank or commend the organization, commend RBC for kind of the first step on this journey in terms of doing the organizational assessment that you've done and accepting the data, as disappointing as it might be. Are you able to identify any specific areas where there seemed to be a concentration of dissatisfaction among students or faculty? In other words, even though the survey is designed to be anonymous, are you able to tell areas where you think there may be more problems than others? So that's my first question. And then my second question is, now that you've done the assessment, what is the next step?
Thank you for the question, Ms. Johnson. Yes, we've actually coded each remark, each survey, so that we will be able to go back and identify the area. And as far as the next steps are concerned, well, let's see, next semester, we're going to continue to explore the perceptions of students. We're trying to get as close as we can to 100 participants, student participants, focusing specifically on the second semester students of color. Once that happens, we're going to start, well, as that happens, we are going to start the framing and writing process at that point. And remember, our third question was provide the actionable steps. And so the task force is, with Cassandra, with Dr. Saito, we're all engaged in kind of collecting suggestions on how to handle and train our campus as we move towards our multicultural identity as an institution. I hope that answered.
It did, thank you.
Okay.
I have a question. With regard, are you finished, Barbara? You have another one? Okay. With regard to the, I know you guys are still going through your process, but with regard to, obviously you've gone through this initial process, you see some flags that have come up and that will probably will warrant additional research in different areas. Like I would be concerned about what is the perception of the school to potential students, for example. I'd be concerned about barrier analysis for different professors or different administrators and top management at the university, if that was an issue that came up. And just, do you have any preliminary thoughts on the types of additional research that will be necessary, and also the types of additional, potential consulting that will be necessary. One of the things that we called for on William Mary's campus is a diversity audit, which has unfortunately not been done, but it's the beginning of a process. And you guys, I think, maybe in some ways ahead of what William Mary's doing and figuring out some of those things. But if you could give a little light to, what you foresee will have to be done from a significant resource and significant additional research perspective.
Brian, before our good doctors respond to that, I would like to say it's been a real advantage to us to have two very solid researchers going at this in a way where we have high confidence in the quality of the research effort that they have underway. That has made a huge difference, and their willingness to take this on, to co-chair the task force, to guide and direct a process that is sensitive, delicate, painful. I just, it is so additive in value, and the confidence we have in the research that is occurring is making a difference. And moving to that diversity audit, Dr. Watts-Martinez, I know you have spoken as recently as this week or last with a potential consultant. So we are moving in that direction, trying to find the right fit for our institution to dovetail with the work that's currently underway. So Avonda.
And that's correct. And remember, we're also tapping into the wisdom of other agencies and communities who are doing this work. Although we do have our approaches lined up very well, we're always open to expansion without so much so that we don't want to surrender the quality of our approaches, but we are very open to looking at other agencies and their approaches into their investigation of this type in their areas. And as Dr. Saito mentioned, we are working, or we will be working with consultants, or with a consultant, a qualified consultant, and also we had a young lady on campus who would team with us. She's out of VCU, and she does diversity audits, and in fact has just done one on our campus with a few of our members. So we're receiving information, data from all aspects of our campus and pulling this data together and just making it hoping that it fits and work. And we're very picky. We're very selective about our not just the approaches, but the data that fits what we have. And if there's some data that takes us out of where we are, we're looking at that too. So we're trying. This is a great process, and we're growing a lot. I hope that answers some of your question, Mr. Wolf.
Yeah, it does. Thank you. One thing I would add is, I don't know if you guys have paid attention to the BMI situation, but the RFP that BMI has for their diversity audit has a number of lines in it that reflect some of the things that you guys have already done with regard to surveying alums, surveying students, like just asking the question of African-American students, for example, of, do you feel comfortable? Do you feel discriminated against? Or, those basic level questions, schools have not been asking in Virginia for way too long. So you guys are ahead of the curve on that, which I applaud you for doing.
Thank you. We are, very close to critical race theory and listening to the phenomenological accounts of our students through their anecdotes. And so we are pulling from tenets of research, both qualitative and quantitative.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank
Great.
you, Mr. Wolfe.
Any other questions from the board members?
I just have a quick question, if you don't mind, Victor. So actually it's two parts. How much of the response that you've received do you think suffers from a vocabulary bias. And what I mean by that is you mentioned, Dr. Watts-Martinez, in your remarks that you think people have a widely disparate understanding of just basic terminology. So how much of what you got do you think is impacted by that?
What a great question. Particularly, Ms. Rode, with regards to the first question, which threw me off, is, do you feel as if any member of the campus has patronized you due to race? And then all of a sudden you have items that talk about discrimination, and then all of a sudden, there are responses going, yes, discrimination here, yes, no, yes. So, and I'm sitting here wondering, okay, so I did make it clear what the word patronizing meant, because it means so much. And so to this survey respondents, we let them know that if there are any questions that they may have, read over the survey first. And if there's any vocabulary that's confusing, to please let us know. And what we did, we provided kind of a list of terms to go with the survey, so that we can make sure that their responses are truly theirs, but in alignment in terms of what we're looking for. But that is such a great question. Thank you for asking that.
We also build these moments into meetings of the task force wherein we bring up new terms, and to build that critical vocabulary, to build that lexicon, especially among task force members, so that if they are confronted with these questions, they have that working knowledge, not just of these concepts, but then how these things operate on multiple levels.
And how much, so to build on that, how much of this do you think you will integrate into the first year experience for freshmen, so that there is a truly shared understanding of both the expectations as well as the vocabulary?
I think it's an absolutely integral part of that first year experience. It's something that on the honors end, as we're retooling the exceptional student experience sequence for our honor students and promise scholars, it's something that the students have been very vocal about wanting and asking for. We want this to be a part of that, especially ESC 101 course. And so we're in the process of actively building that into that first year experience course.
Thank you.
Dr. Sato, I want to thank you and this really amazing team you had assembled here to do this difficult work, and to take in this difficult feedback and to do it honestly and respectfully, and to be role models for others. And as board members have said, Brian's comment about just approaching this with the honesty and the openness that you have to yield the results that we see, and to respect the results and not to run away from them. I applaud you and this team for that. And to my knowledge, this has never been done at Richard Bland College before. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And you can make assumptions that everybody was happy and everybody was feeling like there was one big inclusive family, but we see that has not been the case. And now we know where we stand and what we need to do. And we just got to redouble our efforts and take the data and move forward to make the change we want to see. And this board, as you can hear from the engagement of these committee members, is ready to help this team be the shining model of diversity, equity, inclusion that it needs to be. And we could set the example for many other colleges and universities, not only in the Commonwealth, but across the country. So I love the scientific, thoughtful approach you all have taken to address this in an unemotional but clear-headed way. So thank you for that. And
Mr. Chairman, that feedback is really rocket fuel, because this work, it feels like a roller coaster. I mean, you have your moments when you think, oh, you know, we're really going to be able to make some progress here, and this is going to be work that is relatively easy if we step it off in the proper way. And then, of course, you get feedback and you think, I don't have any idea how we can even begin to address. So we just kind of go through this tortuous process. But I have to say about this team, I have just been in awe of their approach, as I've already said, but also even in preparing for this meeting, and I'm going to share this, Evonda, you know, I got the slides and I said, I gave respectful feedback to my colleagues to say, I really want the board to hear it straight. I want them to get the raw information that we've been getting. I want them to hear it exactly as we're receiving it. And so I give them so much credit because it is not easy to do when they're the researchers and they're delivering this message, and we're all really committed to the outcomes, but on occasion it's hard to know how you're going to get from point A to point Z. But I'll tell you, the energy and passion that we have, I believe is going to get us there. So your support, the board's support, is rocket fuel for our efforts, and we really appreciate that. Thank you.
That's fantastic. We're adults and we can handle the unvarnished truth. And what you just shared with us is that, and it's a bunch of professionals that you are blessed to work with there.
Absolutely.
They're getting the work done. So I look forward to the next milestone and the next iteration of this report as we progress and move forward. And to Dr. Addington's point, to help that professor be her best self with those students, that will allow her to bring forth an environment that is welcoming for everybody. So it's exciting again.
It's a learning experience for all of us.
Exactly. I guess we better move forward so we can get through the rest of the agenda, but this is good stuff. Thank you for that amazing update, Dr. Evonda Watts-Martinez and Dr. Addington. We really appreciate that.
Thank you.
Just a reminder that both are William and Mary alums. So in case some board members weren't aware of that. We're going to move on.
Else.
We're going to move on to a quick update on Statesman Safe and Secure with Task Force Chair Jeff Brown.
Lisa, I think we have a couple of slides to put up. Chairman Branch and members, I'm pleased to provide you with a short briefing on the Safe and Secure plan, and I'm further pleased to share that it will be brief and fairly uneventful, which I think is great news for the committee. Next slide. First, I'd like to highlight a couple of highlight the partnership that the college has with the Crater Health District with some recent activities we've had. In late October, we offered our community free flu shots, which I think went over fairly well. Next slide. And earlier in October, we were able to secure the talents of the Crater Health District's epidemiologist, Katrina Safri, who came on board and did an outstanding Zoom presentation regarding testing, the different types of tests, and the importance of testing in this pandemic. And it was very well received. Next slide. The COVID-19 Emergency Management Task Force has met a couple of times during the semester, and we've already made decisions regarding spring 21 activities. And so this is an overview of our academic calendar. We're going to be starting later in January to provide an opportunity for folks to sort of self-quarantine after the new year, to be mindful of all of the social requirements after trips, visiting family and travel. So we're going to be starting later in January with residential move-in on the 22nd for new students and the 24th for returning students. Classes beginning on the 25th. And then we found great success with the fall plan. So we're going to continue in that vein with Monday, Wednesday, Tuesday, Thursday sessions, and then labs on Friday. We have made a decision to cancel our spring break. So the end of term will be May 7th with exams the 12th through the 18th. And then we're beginning work on what commencement's going to look like. We've had an opportunity to revise our return to campus guidelines. We've learned from the CDC that there are some changes, and so we've updated that so that we're current and providing best information. All of our instruction after Thanksgiving will become virtual. So effective November 30th, RBC will provide telework options to all of our non-essential employees. In October, we filmed several hours of video on our campus. Beautiful weather and just great results from the video. And so I wanted to share a couple of videos, the first with Sarah Moncure and the second with Cassidy Richardson. And I think they express very clearly their experiences at RBC during the COVID-19 pandemic. Lisa, will they come up? They're very short. I think they're 15 seconds each.
The best thing about being a student at Richard Bland is definitely the small environment. You get to be acquainted with faculty and staff as well as your peers. There's so many opportunities that you get to be involved with because we are a small campus. Seize your potential at Richard Bland College of William and Mary.
I think Cassidy just does a great job presenting the nature of our community. And I know that Sarah is watching. She's probably seen this 100 times. She has to wear sunglasses around campus now because she's so recognizable and everybody wants her autograph.
The professors at Richard Bland College have done an exceptional job navigating COVID-19. Our faculty are just going out of their way to make sure that students have the opportunity to get that education. Seize your potential here at Richard Bland College of William and Mary.
So I just wanted to share those quick, this quick briefing with you. Accolades to both Sarah and Cassidy and Tyler and Robin and the work that they did in putting those together. Dr. Saito, that's my report.
Thank you. Any questions of Jeff?
Hey, Chief Brown, this is John Littell. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
So tell me what's your plan for your task force meeting over the break? How are you going to sort of reevaluate things as either the state makes some changes or just general local outbreaks and things like that?
At this point, and I think you're talking about going into the spring semester, we're going to continue to carry on as we did in the fall. We're obviously watching any changes. The governor has already made changes last Friday that we're aware of, that we're continuing to monitor. We will meet as necessary and be flexible as this task force has consistently been in keeping up with the standards and changes. But after Thanksgiving, our students will be virtual. So we right now, I guess we've got kind of our fingers crossed and we're hoping to just kind of ride through the end of the semester.
Good. Well, good work. Dr. Saito, going forward, what is your estimate, if you have it now, of sort of what percentage of classes will be in person next semester?
Mr. Director, we are continuing with the same makeup of classes that we had in the fall. So I'm going to make sure that Mary Gurnick checks me on this. But we do expect that online delivery is going to be about 70%. Mary, that's a test. Is that close? Okay, hearing nothing, Mr. Rector, I'm going to call it 70%.
Okay, thank you.
That's consistent with the number
great
that
job so
we've
far.
talked about.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, that's the end of our report. The next item is our faculty and student representatives, Dr. Birdsong and Sarah Moncure, our star.
Great, good morning. Thank you, everyone. And Lisa, we have a few slides as well. You've received the written reports from both myself and the infamous Sarah Moncure. We both decided that for this meeting, since you all have had some opportunities to hear from many different students across campus, that we would shine a spotlight on one of our faculty members. And as is the case with many of our talented faculty, they wear many hats. So Professor Addington is going to be speaking to you all about the honors program. He, in collaboration with Rhonda Lube, have really done some amazing research and work on how to expand this program. So I'll hand it off to Professor Addington, and then Sarah will be available to answer questions about her experience as an honors student on campus.
Thank you, Dr. Birdsong. So as Dr. Birdsong says, my co-coordinator, Rhonda Luby, and I were tasked with analyzing the architecture of the honors program at present with an eye toward recruitment, retention, and revitalization. So first, I'd like to, if we can put the slide up, I'd like to go through the program at present and then move into our recommendations for continuing to build and innovate this really impactful program. First, benefits of the honors program at present. Students gain a financial benefit in a $500 scholarship per semester. They also gain educational benefits in having a designated faculty mentor, access to William & Mary coursework through the Bridge program. And under Celia Brockway's tenure, the honors program has formed honors to honors transfer agreements with the University of Mary Washington, Shenandoah, VCU, and VSU. Students also gain experiential benefits in special events and trips that are related to their honors curriculum, the opportunity to attend conferences and to not only present at those conferences, but to listen to guest speakers. And they're also approved to live in the Aspire Living and Learning community to really firm up this cohort character of our honors program. Expectations. So how does one enter the honors program at present? Coming from high school, they're required to have a 3.5 GPA. Once they're accepted into the honors program, they're required to maintain a 3.25 GPA. At present, and due to COVID, we've streamlined some of these requirements. So they have to attend 7 events over their time in honors. They have 12.5 volunteer service hours. Students are also expected to undertake the honors course curriculum. That is the Exceptional Student Experience sequence, ESE 101 and 102, an honors rhetoric and research sequence, English 101 and 102, 1 humanities course, 1 social behavioral science course, and 1 natural science and mathematics honors course. Students are also required to present at the Research Expo, which we are very excited to take virtually for this upcoming semester, and 1 Honors Presents presentation. Moving on to our recruitment efforts, we include honors materials in admissions letters to students, and we also provide those materials to our local guidance counselors. We do a fairly robust presentation during new student orientation on the honors program. We also send emails to current qualifying students and follow up with those materials sent in admissions letters with calls to our incoming and new students. So before we began to make these recommendations, we sent a survey to all current honor students, and we also reached out to past honor students to gauge their experience and the perceived value of their honors experience before we began to examine ways to sort of beef up or buttress the program architecture. So from those survey results, 89% of respondents recommended the honors program and would in fact recommend it to other students. In order of sort of the what they perceived as the most valuable part of the program, the first was our honors curriculum. The second were the service projects and opportunities. And the third, there was a tie of the engagement points and campus events. At the end, there was also a tie between, in last place, the ESE sequence and our honors presents moment. And so these were the two places where Rhonda and I directed the most immediate attention. And we've revamped the Honors Presents forum in a major way, and it's been very successful so far this semester. And we're in the process now of retooling the Exceptional Students Experience sequence as well. So with that in mind, and with this picture, if we go to the next slide, of the honors program at present, we made 6 recommendations. The first was thinking about membership. We wanted to create an expansive and inclusive honors experience with multiple pathways to both participate and progress. So we've reserved applications to the honors program for those students who are interested in the entire honors experience, including the curriculum. But we'll allow participation, or we're recommending that we allow participation from all students with a 3.25 GPA or above. The honors degree distinction will be reserved for those who complete all the program requirements. The second recommendation would be that tuition. Tuition has doubled since 2013, but the scholarship has remained at $500 a semester. So we're recommending an adjustment of the scholarship amount for participation levels in the program, with an increase from the first year to the second year to beef up retention in the program. The third would be a greater emphasis on activities. So adjusting and shifting the budget away from conferences to events, particularly those that build community and have a social cultural impact. This group of students has been so amazing in the energy that they bring and the desire that they have to really build these community bonds and to serve the community. So we want to structure the program in such a way that they're able to live that as fully as possible. Fourth would be looking at a transfer track. So increasingly, high achieving students are entering with college credit from AP, dual enrollment, international baccalaureate programs. So how do we bring in their valuable perspective and foster that sort of high achieving spirit in a more flexible way? So Rhonda and I are in the process of firming up a transfer track to account for these students that are coming in with any number of credits. I think the largest I've seen is like 17 or 20. Fifth, looking at our recruitment efforts, we want to reestablish really tight working relationships with guidance counselors from our 12 local feeder schools, both private and public, but then take a look and with an eye toward those institutions such as Appomattox Governor's School with students that are demographically similar to those at RBC. This effort has sort of been ongoing. On November 11th, for example, we sent 1,228 counselors information on our Honors and Promise Scholars program through a massive MailChimp mailing. And to date, that was on the 11th. To date, 361 have viewed the material and have been reaching out to Rhonda and I. So it's exciting. People are excited about the RBC Honors program. And working with Robin Deutsch in communications, we'll be creating a brand that not only distinguishes RBC's honors program from other honors programs at two-year colleges, but that focuses on how interactive these elements of the honors program are and those interactive activities. As the two-year rep for the Virginia Collegiate Honors Council, we've been getting some awesome feedback about ways to firm up that brand. So we're very excited to start implementing some of those things. The last recommendation would be engagement incentives. In addition to the increased scholarship amount, we wanted to create a points-based system that rewards students not just for participation, but for various types of participation. That would include putting up social media posts, engaging in tutoring, orientation volunteering, presenting at conferences, et cetera. And I think it not only puts students in line for awards and recognition, but it also provides that all-important data on student engagement for our continuing assessment protocol. Thank you so much for your time. That concludes my walkthrough of the honors program to date, and then recommendations for beefing up this program.
Thank you so much, Professor Addington. And I would just add that faculty members are really excited about teaching these classes. Students are excited about taking them. And Sarah, if there's anything that you'd like to share with the board about your experience as an honors student, I think we have a couple of moments for that.
Okay, hi, good morning. I would just like to say thank you on behalf of all of the students, as I have found over this semester while talking with various students, the amount of care and effort and into our safety and success this semester is not lost on the students. And so I would just really like to say thank you, and that the support is very much so felt.
Well, thank you to our faculty and student representatives. Dr. Addington, thank you for the presentation on honors. With that, Mr. Chairman, that is the end of general reports.
Wow, that was an amazing update, and you promised a lot and you over-delivered. So thank you for all that good information. And Sarah, I think Hollywood might be calling you before long, so stand by your phone. Great work. All right, we've got some action items. We've got 6 resolutions that were included in your package, and we need a vote on, and we can vote for them in a block, right, Mr. Secretary?
You can, sir. Perhaps President Saito might like to just briefly highlight the first 4 dealing with budget changes, tuition, and so forth. And there is a revision to the 3rd resolution that was given to you.
Yes, very quickly, as Paul Edwards had indicated in his report at the September meeting, we did rebalance this budget. Again, we were waiting on 2 critical revenue sources. One was tuition. So based on our enrollment, that adjustment needed to be made after we had a census date for fall, and secondly, the state budget. So this budget is what Paul reviewed with you in September with those final revenue numbers. The tuition change is based on a Verto fee. This is a partner entity. Henry brought us, we talked about this earlier. Verto is one of our partners. I know it's a William and Mary partner as well. And so the negotiation for what that fee would be was recently finalized, and that is the only change to the tuition and fee schedule. Item C is the operating and capital budget requests. There was one change, and I will ask Jeff to quickly add any detail that he would like. However, we did over the past week have a conversation with Michael Mall and our budget analyst, Ryan Ramirez at Department of Planning and Budget. And we agreed that we would modify this operating and capital budget request to include an offset of 9C and 9D Treasury bonds, requesting that we change that facility from housing to E&G. This is to accommodate the new type of instruction that is apparently going to be here to stay, with smaller classrooms, with blended learning, and where we find ourselves, I was going to say post-COVID, but that's a little optimistic, is understanding that the kinds of classroom and both teaching and learning spaces that we need are smaller, and also have to have different types of technology and have to allow faculty the opportunity to meet informally and formally with smaller groups of students. And so we are trying to reimagine the kinds of spaces needed. So that's the conversation we had with DPB. This would be essentially a new appropriation equal to the amount of those 9C and 9D bonds, which is roughly $300,000 annually. That is the only change. The early retirement incentive plan was also presented in September. And so that has been updated. Cassandra Stanberry, our director of HR, has been the primary lead on this, but working very closely with Ramona Taylor, general counsel, as well as Paul Edwards, our chief business officer, and others, but they have been the primary leaders of this. We've tightened up language, and as we have been able to gather more information from the VRS and other entities who play a role in this. But I guess I would just say I feel very good about the work they've done, the due diligence that has been very clear in the effort. And also we have at this point been given a clear workflow of approvals and what will happen after you and ultimately the board approve this faculty early retirement incentive plan. There are other steps taking this through to final approval. So we've got that all sorted out. And again, I would ask Cassandra or others to comment as needed. The last two are retirement resolutions of two wonderful members of our team who have moved on.
Any questions for Dr. Sadow or her team?
I have a question. So the Verdo program is actually by and large the most significant aspect of what students are paying per credit hour now? Or am I misreading page 19 of the board book, which lists out the credit hour breakdown? So total tuition and E&G is proposed to be $200 per credit hour. The auxiliary is proposed to be $270 per credit hour. And the Verdo program is $333 per credit hour.
So this is an MOU. It's a contractual relationship with Verdo. That the Verdo is the only change, and this is you know what, I'm going to ask Paul Edwards if he will address it. This is the way that we have structured the financial arrangement with Verdo students. And there was a lot that went into these deliberations. And Paul, if you could speak to this, that would be great.
Yes, ma'am, I'll try. Tyler would probably be better, but this is just the negotiated, this is the rate. This is the credit hour equivalent of the rate that Verdo is charging their students. That's the best way I can explain it. Tyler, can you explain it any better or differently?
Yeah, I don't want to call it a pass-through, but it's kind of that.
Well, I just think the optics of the resolution, you know, saying that we're making no increase for in-state and reducing fees for out-of-state, and oh, by the way, we're adding $333 is just kind of a tough, maybe it's just the way it's worded.
Yeah, Ms. Orday, the decrease in out-of-state, that is not a change. That was based on, and I do know what you're saying. I certainly appreciate the optics, but it was based on an effort that we have to serve more out-of-area and out-of-state students. We had been triple tuition for that population for many, many years. And we knew at the point that we reduced that, we were going to, the optics were going to look bad, right? But the reality is that as we launch RBC Online, if we are charging triple tuition to out-of-area students, we are essentially killing the program before we ever get it off the ground. So we did broad-based research, Paul and his team, as well as Stacy Sokol and others, to look at what was being charged for out-of-state tuition at other institutions that have significant online programs. And this is where we landed after considerable due diligence to try and make sure that we're not pricing people out of the market. So this is in part an elasticity issue at a point when this new line of business is going to be critical to Richard Bland's financial sustainability. So yeah, it is dramatic. It appears dramatic at this moment in time, but this was the time that we had to take this step. And as far as Verdo, please keep in mind, they are delivering this international study abroad program. So we become the college of record in terms of awarding credit for the experience. But keep in mind that Verdo is the content provider. So similar to what you heard earlier from SEI Ventures. So that's why it's a bit of a different kind of arrangement. They are managing soup to nuts that whole international experience. Does that help? No?
It just makes me feel like we're trying to pat ourselves on the back with these whereas clauses that we're trying to hold the line, and we're trying to, be cognizant of what's happening with our families. And then you go to the next resolution and, oh, by the way, we're adding this additional cost to school. So I don't know. I just don't feel like it. I feel like it doesn't accurately reflect that we are indeed maintaining tuition and fees, and there is no increase. I guess technically there is no increase because it's for the people who are studying at RBC as opposed to the Verdo students. But it just, I don't know, doesn't feel quite.
If it helps, we've actually dropped the fee, Paul. I know this was one of the things that Paul and his team have struggled with. As we had more students sign up to study online, that online fee resulted in a considerable drop in revenue. So we have been very conscientious, not patting ourselves on the back, but trying to be fair in not charging sort of the comprehensive fee. And Paul, please do jump in. But we have taken the hit by trying to be as fair as possible in this time when we've had more and more students sign up for online instruction. In the case of Verdo, we're talking about a very small number of students, and that fee applies only to that small number of students. So I hear what you're saying, but if you break it down, I think that what we've done is very responsible in terms of trying to launch a program, trying to make online instruction more affordable to people out of area, and at the same time, Paul, giving online students a break from the comprehensive fee, which is why we've seen a significant drop in revenue, because they are not paying that comprehensive fee if they're signing up online. So
maybe that would be a good footnote to the resolution 3 to add a note that because you've got notes, but not a note next to Verdo that indicates that it only applies to students who are enrolled in the program.
Yeah, it is only for those students enrolled in that program. Matter of fact, you won't even find that rate on our website because they come through from Verto.
I think it would help to add to the notes in your fee section to just say that since you make distinctions between applies to only courses taken by student type, in notes 1 and 2. And
We will absolutely do that. Yes, thank you.
Good catch, Lisa.
So just to be clear, in-state students see no changes in fees. Out-of-state students see a reduction in fees. Students who take credits through Virtu will see this sort of new fee, tuition and fee, right? It's not a new fee, really. It's just a per credit hour cost, right? So we're talking about like a subset of in-state and out-of-state students who will be taking Virtu.
John, so it's more, correct? think about it in terms of a lab fee. Okay. If you look at a list of fees for students studying certain disciplines, there will be fees that cover essentially the costs of, let's say, for a lab fee, equipment or supplies. So think of Verto in that way. It is a fee that applies to those students who are, again, having the international study abroad experience provided by our partner, Verto. And I do want to clarify one thing you said. The fees aren't reduced for out-of-area, out-of-state students. The tuition was reduced from triple to double.
I'm sorry, correct. I see that, I'm sorry. So just to kind of make this really basic, and I'm sorry, I think part of it is just being virtual makes it harder. So a student who, let's just say their second semester chooses this program, Virtu, they're going to get charged this $333 fee for tuition costs per credit hour, right? They're not going to have other credit hour costs on top of that?
That is correct.
Okay. All right, I understand that. I agree with Lisa that maybe the notes could be a little clearer on that.
Paul is nodding. We will get that note added.
Yeah, we'll take care of that.
That would be just an wording amendment to resolution number 2 that the board be approving, which is the tuition and fees resolution, correct? Debbie, okay.
Yes.
Just to clarify too, what the rector was saying, were this a tuition and mandatory fee increase, you would have had to have had a public hearing
yes.
On this 30 days in advance of this meeting. It's not classified as such, as I understand it, based on the conversation. So as a result, to the board members who may have concerns about that, and the ones Ms. Rodet raised, that particular issue is not an issue for this.
Very good. Any other questions before we call for a vote? All right, hearing none. Is there a motion to?
Victor, before you call for a vote, so are we going to amend the statement to include a footnote?
Yes.
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 Thank you.
You bet. Resolution 2, tuition and fees with a footnote. So noted. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Excellent.
Mr. Chairman, you're moving the adoption of resolutions 1 through 6 with 3R and 2 amended.
Yes, correct.
Very good. It's been moved and seconded. Mr. Branch.
Aye.
Ms. Johnson.
Aye.
Ms. Hudson. Ms. Hudson.
Aye.
There you are. Judge Poston?
Aye.
Ms. Roday?
Aye.
No, Dr. Schultz had to leave. Mr. Wolfo?
Aye.
Mr. Chairman?
Excellent, excellent. Good work there, team. Old business. Is there any old business we need to discuss? Any new business? All right. And Mr. Rector, it's so good to have you join us. I know you had an appointment that conflicted with the beginning. Anything else you want to add before we adjourn?
No, I apologize for being late, and I want to thank Debbie and her team. What a really great job preparing and guiding everybody through this semester. And I think the most important part, just as we focused it on William & Mary's main campus, is just ensuring that our mission to make sure that these students have access to quality education, continues regardless of the circumstances, and does not cause any delays in their line of instruction. So it's really, I think it's hard for people to understand how much work goes on, every day, at night, on the weekends and stuff like that, just to make sure that they are able to keep adjusting. So really want to congratulate you all. And, I know it's going to be a new moment in the spring when we start all over, but it's really good. And I want to thank everybody on this committee for, staying so vigilant and focused on the important work of Richard Bland. So thank you.
Well said, John. Thank you for those comments. And I'll close where I opened and say thank you to this extraordinary leadership team. Dr. Sato and your executive leadership team, you continue to meet the moment, and it is not by accident. You're following a strategic plan, you're following a safe and secure plan, and you're focused and you're making sure you deliver the quality education that John spoke of to our students. And I want to thank the students again for their vigilance, their resilience, and their adherence to the safe and secure plan, and to remind them to, when they go back into the community, if they're on campus, or those that are already in the community, to continue to be vigilant, to be safe, to take this virus seriously. It doesn't care who you are, where you're from. It's just looking for a host. And we all just got to just be vigilant about how serious this is. And I look forward to seeing the board members here at the William & Mary meeting, board meeting later this week. And I wish everyone an extraordinarily wonderful Thanksgiving. It's going to be a different one this year. So wash your hands, stay socially distant, and wear a mask. And let's just try to tackle this virus and beat this thing so that we can return to some normalcy by this time next year and be back in each other's presence. So thank you. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
So moved.
You have the power to simply adjourn the meeting.
There you go. Give me that power, Michael. We are adjourned.
Thanks, everyone.
Have a nice day, everyone.